Hey guys, welcome to a quick tutorial study on the bevel modifier. Now I just got a basic cube here, and you can scale it up a little bit, G and Z, kind of bring it up out of the grid if you want. Just make sure you hit Control A and apply the scale. And so if you were to kind of bring it up like this, which is about where I want it, then you make sure to apply the scale. Otherwise, the bevels are not going to apply correctly. So first thing we want to do is let's go over here to the vertex area and let's add in two groups. First group we'll call edge 1. The second group we'll call edge 2. I know that's hyper technical, right? So come over here and we're going to add in a couple of bevel modifiers. Let's just go ahead and add in 3. Let's collapse them, and we can call this bevel, and I'll just put main at the end of it, and I'll put this as bevel dash edge 1, and this will be 2. So dash edge 2. Very good. Now the main bevel will need to be brought up to like 4 segments, right? And it's going to bevel the entire all the edges. So wherever there's an edge, it's going to bevel that. So we're going to want to have the hard normals on, but we see we don't have auto smooth on yet. So what we want to do very first is come over here and let's shade it smooth. Come back to vertex, drop down normals, and click on auto smooth. And we can come back over and that little warning will be gone. We go to geometry, and in case we have corners, we want to go from sharp to arc. It's going to make it look a lot nicer. And then we can go ahead and turn off the clamp overlap, which is going to help us make the bevel look really nice. Now right now we don't really have anything in here to mess up our bevel, so let's go ahead and add something that could probably destroy it if it's not right. So you're going to need the carver tool for that. So just go to edit, preferences, and type in carver under add-ons and check this on. And if you don't know about the carver tool, it is the foundation for box cutter and grid modeler. And there's your hotkeys here, which of course can be changed. So once that's active, just select whatever mesh, hit Control Shift X, and now you're going to be cutting a difference boolean with a rectangle. And let's hit A, turn off the bevel. Because otherwise, it's going to put an edge bevel weight on every single edge immediately, and we don't want that. It's going to mess us up. So you can cut in anywhere you want, any way you want. And I'll cut in here, but I'm going to hold shift this time, and I'm going to cut a slice. And then I'm going to hit the space bar one time, and let's do this for line. And I'm just going to come in here and cut a relatively unique shape, something like that, and then hit spacebar. And so now we've got all this cut out and we've got some edges to work with. And so what we want to do, now just right click to drop that selection off. I'm going to grab the main, not the slice, and jump into edit mode. Now what I'm going to do is I want to grab this edge and this edge, and I'm going to come back to the vertex. I'm going to grab edge 1, so this will be edge 1 plural, and I'll assign that. Okay, and now I want to come over here and I'll grab this edge, this one, and I will assign those to edge 2. And I can lock those so they don't get changed. Come back to the modifier tab, and I can collapse the first one, and I'll go to edge 1. And I want to change the limit method on this one from angle to vertex group. And then I'll select edge 1. And nothing's really happening just yet. And I want to come down here for edge 2, from angle to vertex group, and select edge 2. Now what we can do is I'll go back to edge 1, and we can make these chamfers. And so you see, if you try to make them a chamfer right now, it's not working. And the reason is because it's not in the stack in the correct order. So what I'd actually do is bring the main bevel all the way to the bottom, which is going to throw some shading off. No worries. I can actually just come in and kind of bring that down to something really low for now. And so edge 1 is now represented here. And if I come to edge 2, I can begin to pull all of these edges in as well. And it looks like I may not have had that edge selected, so let me go back to vertex, unlock that, and assign. Yeah, so I didn't have that one. So I'm going to lock that in now and come back over here. And so what you're doing is you're kind of like bevel modeling, okay? And you can change this anytime you want to make it really nice and smooth. You like something nice and even. You know, even numbers work really well with the bevels. And so now I would like to get the bevel to work on the outside so that I can have a nice result all the way around. Okay, and the way you're going to do that is through edge bevel weight. Hit spacebar, search, type in, you got to be in the edit mode. Spacebar, search, and type in edge bevel, and it'll come up, and just right click, add that to your favorites so you can come back out and hit Q and then select your edge bevel weight here. Now if I just click one of these and hit Control B, I got a nice little bevel, right? Or chamfer. If I hit Q and then go to edge bevel weight and pull this in and out, you can see it changing colors. Let me just get a nice little zoom in here. And if I do this, you can see it's actually turning darker blue. And so if you were to leave it blue, come over here and change this from angle to weight, and now you can start using this as a bevel that is going to just work with the weight that you put to it. And so I can kind of play around with this, and I'd want something like 20 segments so it's nice and smooth around the edges, and so that would look really, really nice. Now if I want, I could come in, hit A for all, and then add the edge bevel weight to everything, left click, and now that's got the bevel on there. And now you can bevel all the edges properly, whereas you could not do that before. And so that is how you do it. And now if you were to use the carver tool and say just cut in another slice here, you wouldn't press A to turn off your bevel. You can just do the bevel, and what's going to happen is it's going to, well, it should actually have added those in. It didn't. Okay, so like I said, it's an interesting little study because I find that it acts up sometimes. So you could come in here, just hit A for all, and then just go to bevel weight and just add that in. If it does not add that bevel automatically. I do know that if you start though from the very beginning with a bevel from the carver tool, it adds it to the entire mesh, which is not ideal. So that way you can get a little bit more structural later. And so if you wanted to add something like that to here, of course you can click here and then shift click the main with all of the modifiers on it, Control C, and copy said modifiers. But this doesn't have the edge bevel weight, so you add that, and then you get the entirety, and then it will match up nice. Originally these were set to be chamfers, so I'm actually going to bring these back to chamfers because it just created so many shading errors. Okay, so it's starting to look pretty good. Now a better way you can see this is if you were, and for some reason I am in a different preview mode, don't want to be. Let's come down here, and I turn off the specular lighting, and then I turn on cavity, and it just gives me a little better perspective on what's going on with my mesh. Alright, so I had a little funky spot right here. I had pulled a vertice somehow, so I Control Z back, turned off all of the hardened normals, and then got everything functioning just the way I wanted it. So one more thing, even though the main bevel does control how the outside edges actually end up looking, and so I bring that back to something like 4 segments for the main, you can still come in here and grab the edge and offer that a bevel or a chamfer if you wish. And then, like I said, just try to keep that to, you know, something. And you see the hard and normals here really isn't doing anything. It's kind of pulling it and creating shading issues, probably from the boolean. But you can do that, or you can just add a straight up chamfer, which I really prefer. It offers up a very nice machined and or potentially a sci-fi look. And here's one more thing you can do, which is actually pretty cool. So if I am still centered, which I believe I am, I'm going to actually take the top view and do this. Let's see. Yeah, so this edge is in line here, so that's actually going to help. And I want to pick this edge. I'm going to run a boolean through this, but I'm going to edge it. And you'll see what I'm saying here. Let's go ahead. Let's press spacebar a couple times. I will turn the subdivision count up to 72 by hitting X a couple times. And then I just want to bring the cursor in right here. Left click. Before I do the operation, though, I want to hit Q and turn the operation off. And then I'll just left click and knock a boolean. And so now I've cut this boolean. It's still live. So I could grab this and hit G and X, kind of move that back just a touch and create a pretty neat little situation. And then of course I can offer some loop cuts to this. Let's get right here. And that could end up being just a ton of extra geometry. So I'm just going to do that right there. That's good. Completely back. And what you do is you take the cutter and you shade it smooth first and then come down and auto smooth. And now we can come back over and come to our main mesh, and we go ahead and apply that and then delete it. And there we go. I knew I was missing something. Forgive me, I've not had enough coffee today at all. But anyways, that's a pretty nice little cut, and it offers up the opportunity for you if you don't have, you know, the extra cash flow to get box cutter, mesh machine, and all these other wonderful tools that are out there, which I highly recommend. And I do have Grid Modeler, which, you know, is awesome as well. So, and it's in the W menu surprisingly, but I keep it in the Q menu, so I can click on Grid Modeler anytime I want. And then let me bring that res back a little. Then you can come in and you can cut, you know, anything you can think of. So I just needed a neat little spot like right here, and I needed a boolean through. And I can pull up Grid Modeler, and then let me get a slightly better view. You can see, and cutting booleans into other booleans, you're really going to need a program to do that. Make it very nice and make it work. And I'm just going to run that boolean straight through. And if I hit exact solver, it'll put mostly straight lines, which is what you need for a boolean cut inside of Blender for it to end up and, you know, look really nice. And so now you've got a little bit more depth to this, very clean, and the overall geometry is not too bad. So there you go. That's it. A little bit of booleans, a little bit of the bevel modifier and how you can work with it, and then you can change anything you want and control these different edges. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial lesson.